So what's TypeScript? TypeScript is, as I said, a superset to JavaScript. It adds new features to the JavaScript language. Most importantly, types, but also classes, modules, and much more. That makes up TypeScript, and besides these extras, it is JavaScript with a bit different syntax, but not really that far away. In the end, the browser can't run TypeScript. Therefore, TypeScript will always be compiled into JavaScript, which is what the browser is able to read. Now you might ask, how can we compile something which is not included in JavaScript to JavaScript? Well, we can do that because for some things like classes, there are different ways to write it in JavaScript. And for things like types, which simply don't exist in JavaScript, we don't have strong typing in JavaScript, well, this will be left out, but it's good to have it anyway because the TypeScript compiler will check those types and give us errors if we misuse types or use them wrongly. So we got this extra level of security, which is one of the biggest benefits TypeScript offers us. Because speaking of benefits, why would you want to use TypeScript instead of JavaScript? Well, there are some general reasons and some Angular 2 specific ones. The general reasons would be that you have that strong typing I just mentioned, which means that you set which property will have which type. For example, that a property should be a string. If you then try to assign a type which does not match, the compiler and probably your IDE too will give you an error. And that prevents you from making a lot of difficult to find errors, as you will get this check right out of the box at the beginning. So that's the biggest and most important feature, as tiny as it might sound, but it is not. Another reason is that you can use next generation JavaScript features today. For example, classes, imports and exports, so that modular multi-file approach. And as I explained, some of these things will be transpiled into today JavaScript, so prototypes and so on, and some things might be left out, but are still usable with the TypeScript compiler to give you errors and so on. Another reason would be that you get missing JavaScript features like interfaces or generics. Now, JavaScript doesn't have any similar thing. However, again, the compiler knows that we, for example, want to have an interface which forces us to implement a certain method, and therefore can yell at us if we don't do that. And after the compilation step is finished, yes, we won't have that feature anymore, but we don't need to because we already checked that we fulfilled. So that are the general reasons. Now, if you're not convinced, and well, you probably should be, but if you're not, let's talk about the Angular 2 specific ones. Very importantly, documentation and support is mostly in TypeScript. And yes, this will probably be added for pure JavaScript in the future, but the majority of examples and articles you find uses TypeScript, so it makes your world a lot easier if you're using TypeScript too. The question is, why is that the case? Why is everything in TypeScript? Well, because the Angular 2 team chose TypeScript as the main language, so to say, for Angular 2. And of course they did this due to the reasons you can find on the left in the general part. And as all of this is the case, this course will use TypeScript, and I strongly encourage you to do the same. So with that, the question is, how do you use TypeScript? Well, with the Angular CLI projects, you don't have to separately install it because the project will automatically do that for you. However, you still might want to install it globally on your machine. And you can do this with the sudo on Mac, on Windows leave out sudo, npm install TypeScript -g command. And I will do this on my machine because you might need it in other projects which are not related to Angular 2, or, and you will see this in one of the next lectures, when using tslint, which is a little support helping you to write clean and well formatted TypeScript code. So I will quit my running server here for now and install TypeScript by typing npm install g TypeScript, and I should add sudo since I'm on Mac, so I'll do that. Enter my password here real quick. And that will install TypeScript globally on my machine. And in my case, as I already had it, just update it to the latest version.